Okay, so we're looking at the Snapchat monthly active users globally from basically its inception, September 12th or 2012, it really started to grow. And so let's talk about what we came up with. We came up with this was a second model with 4.1 as the starting value in September 2012, and that's million users. And this is 1.21, how it grew from time to time. So when we consider all the key features that we're going to consider for Snapchat monthly users, we have pivot point, and x-intercept, and so on. And so when we consider here on our graph, I know the pivot point, I'm going to tell you in this particular model is 0, 4.1. It refers specifically to the y-intercept. And wherever this y-intercept goes, if I would then transform this graph by shifting it or up or down, this is where it goes. It's the pivot point. And in this case, it's the y-intercept. Okay? In this case, number of monthly Snapchat users in September 2012. The x-intercept, well, that's really quite straightforward. There are none. And it's often the case with exponential functions that there will be no x-intercepts. The y-intercept, well, it's 0.41. And again, it is, in this case, the number of monthly Snapchat users in September 2012. The domain, if you remember, domain is all about the x values, or in time in this case, is what can x be? Well, if we look at our model, y is equal to 4.1, 1.19 times to the power of x. X can be any number. It goes on forever and ever and ever. And so the domain is simply going to be x or t, because we're actually dealing with t for time. T belongs to any real number, Even though we also know that Snapchat started in April 2011, or so says Wikipedia. Okay, that is the domain. The range, though, is possible y values. In this case, that's monthly users. Well, if I consider that, I know then that my monthly users, the y value will always be bigger than 0. All right. We also have a horizontal asymptote, which in this case was y is equal to 0. And this is the value that Snapchat users will never go below. They'll never be less than 0 Snapchat users. For our horizontal asymptote, it's not always 0, it changes, and we'll talk about that more in the future. Vertical asymptotes, there are none. No vertical asymptotes or exponential functions. And then finally, this new idea, this factor or ratio, a times b to the x, this b value is what we multiply by each time. It is the factor or the ratio. And so in our case, it was either 1.1 or 1.21 depending upon our method. And what it means is that each month, Snapchat users were growing by 19%. By 19%. Because the 1 represents keeping exactly 100% of the people that are already still doing it. And then this is more than the 100% that are currently doing it, 19% more. And so finally, what this model means, and this is something that is really quite important, Snapchat's users in this case grew by 21% each month, and that's assuming we're using this particular b value. And so these are the key features of exponential functions. Make sure you can use the context to answer what these values mean.